I'm really pleased to be here and to have this opportunity to talk about a really central issue, a subset of issues, in the larger context of how we ensure that Turkey and the European Union and the United States are all working together, pulling in the same direction, and building a future in which all of our citizens can live in peace and prosperity and dignity. And I want to thank, Michael, you for your support for the project, Fuat Bey for your contributions and that of your institute, not only for everything that the Instituto is bringing to this, and of course our friends scattered around the room from the Center for American Progress, which has been an important source of objective analysis and information, not just for me, but I know for many policymakers in Washington who are seeking to understand this region, indeed the three regions that Turkey is part of, at a really challenging period of history. Let me first begin by extending our deepest condolences to all of our Turkish friends and colleagues who are here today for the trauma and the sorrow and the suffering that you have been experiencing, particularly in the last month, starting with the terrible attack on Ataturk International, and culminating in this last month, unfortunately, with the attempted coup over the weekend. Başınız sağ olsun ve geçmiş olsun. If it needs to be said again, I certainly will say it. We found last weekend's violent attempt to overthrow a democratically elected government shocking, outrageous, and profoundly anti-democratic. And we have strongly condemned the coup again in a statement after President Obama's phone conversation with President Erdogan last night. And we certainly fully support efforts to bring the perpetrators to justice. We believe it is important that that effort occur in ways that, as President Obama said last night, reinforce public confidence in Turkey's democratic institutions and the rule of law. And before I get into the meat of my remarks, I also want to, if I may, return to an important first principle, which unfortunately I find is necessary to reiterate at this time in this place, given some of the rhetoric and conspiracy theorizing that's so prevalent in the wake of the attempted coup. The United States wants Turkey to succeed and to prosper. We support and we want to see this country realize its place as a strong, peaceful, and prosperous nation with space for all of its citizens to realize their full potential. Turkey's success, Turkey's strength is important for us, it's important for our European friends, and it's important for many other countries in the three regions of which Turkey is a part. This has been a cornerstone of U.S. policy since 1946. It's still a cornerstone of our policy today, and it was a cornerstone of our policy 25 years ago when I first started working on Turkey. And through the 90s, when I worked on and off on Turkey, I can tell you our strong support for not just Turkey's continued contributions to the NATO alliance, but importantly, to Turkey's aspirations to join the European Union, were at times a source of some discomfort and disgruntlement from our European friends. One of the strongest advocates for Turkey's vision of becoming a member of the European Union throughout the 1990s, before the start of the formal accession process, was the United States. And I think it's it's important to remember that context and those fundamentals at a moment when there is so much fear and anger in this society around the attempted coup and some of the policy choices and machinations behind the scenes by people who were not seemingly taking direction from elected representatives, but from someone else in the months and years that preceded the coup. To the subject that we're all here to discuss, Turkey's economic prospects as it looks towards the centennial in 2023. Turkey's economic fundamentals, I think everyone would agree in this room, remain strong. But it's also the case that persistent problems and challenges are equally present. Trade and tourism are down. Structural reforms, we believe, will be essential to modernize this economy and to give it the prospect of achieving the ambitious goals this government has set for the country by 2023. But those aren't easy to implement in the best of times. And these are not the best of times. And in some respects, I think the most pressing potential threat to Turkey's economic success is a growing perception outside of Turkey that I would submit is supported by a body of evidence that Turkey is increasingly focused inward and is tempted or inclined to close its doors to the world, particularly, I think, to the world of certain kinds of investment and certain kinds of business partners. Steps to limit freedom of speech, freedom of assembly, to reduce the space for debate and consideration of alternative ideas and policies, and steps to curb diversity in this society all contribute to hurting Turkey's reputation as an investment destination. Just to take one case in point, the potential wholesale dismissal of academic deans from across Turkey's institutions of higher education threatens to tarnish this country's reputation as a place that is open to innovation, open to technology, open to the free exchange of ideas, and open to the rigors of scientific inquiry. Similarly, I think the anti-American rhetoric that we're seeing in the wake of the coup has the potential, if it is sustained, to disincentivize investment, to prompt companies, whether they're large or medium-sized or small, who see or saw an opportunity here, to prompt them to look elsewhere, to prompt companies that are already present in this marketplace to decide not to expand here, but to put those investment dollars somewhere else. I think it is important, therefore, in this period of deep trauma in this society, for everyone that is interested in preserving Turkey's reputation and its connections to the wider world, to helping sustain it as a place where foreign investment is welcome, where foreign education professionals and intellectuals are welcome, to be mindful of what they're saying and how they are approaching this next important period in which investigation and legitimate prosecution of the perpetrators of this illegal coup attempt occur. To move beyond the current crisis and to continue to attract the investment Turkey needs to attain its development goals, I think Turkey importantly needs to focus on two areas which are highlighted in the report we're here today to discuss. First of these is strengthening the rule of law, and the second is the important work to implement and modernize Turkey's educational system. With respect to strengthening the rule of law, we believe it is essential to promoting further economic growth and development in this country. An open, transparent, predictable government is essential for business to thrive, and therefore, by extension, for people to prosper. Unfortunately, I'm increasingly hearing from a range of American businesses about market issues such as forced localization, unpredictable tariff increases, and other non-tariff barriers that give them pause about the policy outlook and the business and investment climate in Turkey. Some of these companies tell me they are reluctant to raise their concerns with government because they are concerned about retribution. That is, I would say, the opposite of a virtuous circle and a virtuous cycle. This lack of transparency and openness and predictability about the business climate, about the investment climate, and the broader concerns about rule of law as they apply in the narrow scope that business operates in to dispute resolution, enforcement of contracts, predictability of commercial law, we think has stunted Turkey's ability to attract much needed investment that it needs today and will need in the future. And I think if I could put it in more holistic terms, I think there is a danger at this time that a Turkey that is increasingly inward focused and focused on development of national business and having a national face on particular industries or particular technology is at risk of missing enormous opportunities in the globalized economy and the digital age, when capital and information is less tied to particular countries, when it doesn't have national identities, and when it is moving according to objective criteria as opposed to subjective criteria. Consequently, I think we're at a time when the international business community is looking to Turkey to develop improved transparency and improved independence in the judiciary and its institutions. The rules that govern entry into the civil service, access to government benefits, due process will need to be strengthened and clarified. And I think importantly, to give the international investors and businesses confidence in the business environment, it will continue to be important to strengthen the independence of Turkey's judiciary and its ability to exercise a check on executive and legislative power. Second area I want to highlight for a few minutes and then and get to more of a conversation, which I know is of more interest to all of you, is education reform. Turkey's needed education reform, if it can occur, as the report demonstrates, will ensure that a larger number of qualified students have access to university, and importantly, that university students and graduates come out of that experience with the skills and the experience and the perspective that business and government are seeking and need. The culture of freedom of thought is essential, and scientific inquiry is essential to the success of any modern economy. We've certainly found that to be true in the United States and Europe, and we believe it is true here in Turkey. Students in our universities are taught to challenge ideas, to test theories, to find new alternatives, to learn how to think for themselves, as opposed to simply take received wisdom and apply it rigorously and consistently without respect to the environment around them. And this freedom of thought, we find, contributes and leads to diversity and innovation. Our democracy, our commitment to human rights and the rule of law, these allow us to negotiate the nation's path forward. They sustain our economic vitality. They have enabled the creation of our culture of innovation and creativity. And we believe they are essential ingredients to doing exactly the same thing here in Turkey. In closing, let me just make one other observation that relates to what we just saw in the film of the report. And that is the incredibly important role that women in this society will have to play, must play, if Turkey is to achieve its ambitious goals. This isn't simply a matter of increasing women's labor participation rates, their presence in the workplace, although that's essential. It's also important to increase their participation in governance and in those institutions inside and outside of government that are part of the national conversation about priorities and policies and conflict and violence. Because as I believe a fair amount of research has shown, there is a correlation between the degree to which women are active participants in the national conversation and the levels of violence and instability in particular societies. And I have to say, not unlike some other countries in which I have been privileged to serve as a U.S. diplomat, the most impressive people I have met in this country are some of the women in places as widespread as Istanbul and Mardin, who are working to carve out their own space and to be able to simply contribute according to their abilities in whatever field they are choosing, against a fair amount of societal pressure to do precisely the opposite. So I think, in conclusion, just as in the United States, Turkey's future success and its ability to realize these ambitious goals require everyone to be part of that conversation and everyone to be contributing, irrespective of their gender. So with that, let me thank you all for listening to me, and I'll look forward to questions, whether they come from Natalie or from you in the audience. Thank you very much.